Hey there, and welcome to Google's Innovation for the Nation 2013. I'm Christopher Dorabek, the anchor and managing editor of GovLoop's Dorabek Insider, an online program and blog that focuses on 6 words, helping you do your job better, helping government do its job better. And that's exactly what we're focused on here today. We're helping you do your job better, and we're doing that by introducing you to the government transformers. And no, it's not a Hollywood movie. They're the people who are figuring out how to get their jobs done in what are complex times. And we're going to talk about citizen engagement, getting what you do out to the people who can use it. And the census has been doing that with some pretty amazing, remarkable apps. In fact, we'll introduce you to the folks behind it in just a moment and the great things that they've done. But as we hang out today, we'd love to hear from you. If you have questions or comments, there are 2 ways to reach us. On Twitter, you can tweet us. Hashtag is IFTN2013. That's Innovation for the Nation 2013. Or you can tweet me directly at @CDorabek. We'll try and get to as many questions as we can. Also, right here in the virtual conference center, you can visit the networking lounge within the event and click on the Ask a Question button. So all nice and simple. We've already had a bunch of great conversations. We've talked about mobility and security. We've talked about using search to find needles in haystacks. We spoke to the National Archives about their process for moving to a collaboration platform that's in the cloud. Pretty cool stuff. And we discussed automating performance reviews. I know those 3 words all sound boring, but it's a pretty amazing thing that the Berkeley Laboratory has done. If you missed any of those discussions, they're all online, on demand, if you will. The Google Federal YouTube page, and if you register, we'll send a link right to you. Make it nice and easy so you can find them. A bit of a preview as to what still lies ahead. We're going to talk about equipping your employees with the power of context. Yeah, I know. But let's talk about citizen engagement, and joining me from the U.S. Census Bureau are Lisa Wolfish and Alec Permisson. They are both, as I mentioned, from the census, who have been doing really remarkable things out there. And Lisa, I want to start because the census, I've heard about it, and I think people may have heard about it, but you're engaged in something called the Digital Transformation Project. Describe what this is, why it matters, and how it's changing how you do business.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you for the opportunity to let us come and talk about this really exciting program going on at the Census Bureau. Out of the 2010 census experience, where we built a really engaging, really interactive website, we took those lessons and really created a whole new digital program around those lessons to achieve the things across census.gov that we were able to achieve on the 2010 website. So what we've done is we've started a program called our Digital Transformation Program that is really changing the way that we're making our information available. We want to make that information easier to use, easier to access. We want to increase our satisfaction and really grow the awareness around Census Bureau statistics. So how we're doing this through digital transformation is we are building new interactive apps, which I hope to be able to show everybody in a little bit, some samples. We are redesigning census.gov, adding in thematic navigation to take the organizational structure out of the website, again, to make things easier to find. We are enhancing our search so that our search engine will deliver answers right as people are searching. And we're creating mobile apps. We feel that in the mobile space, there are opportunities now to make those statistics easier to access than ever before. We've created an open API to provide new access to developers and entrepreneurs looking to build some innovations, things that the Bureau, the Census Bureau, might not be able to do, meeting niche markets, bringing in data from other organizations. The API makes that all possible. So through these, through interactive apps, APIs, new web navigation and search features, we're really transforming how we're disseminating our data and how users will be able to access it.
And one of the things that's pretty remarkable about this is there's a lot of requests for your data. This is a really different way of government traditionally operating, where you're making data available to folks and they get to go and do with it as they want.
So we are. So we're doing that in a number of ways. As I mentioned, through our API, we're seeing some really innovative apps getting built around the API, people doing some really interesting things with that data that's available. We're also building into our new interactive applications ways that users can download the data from the application and also embed the application right on their own websites. And if we could show an example of that, I'd like to show you our new population clock that we launched. And I'm not quite sure if we're seeing it here.
Yeah, we are. Awesome.
Okay, great. So the population clock is an example where we took a very popular feature on census.gov that had been on census.gov really since we began the website nearly 20 years ago. And what it did is it provided two numbers, the US and the world population. So we changed that into an interactive experience. You can see the odometer style presentation of those two populations. You can also see the components of change that feed into those numbers. You can also get population going back to, right now we have it back, daily populations back to 1980, where you can get the population. You can also see, you can download and share that information and embed those widgets right on your website through this mechanism. And what we're finding is about 4% of our traffic to this application is coming from embedded versions.
And again, people can share this and use it in all sorts of different ways. Is there any pushback within Census saying, "Hold on, this isn't the way government operates"?
No, we've fortunately not experienced that kind of pushback. I think
That's awesome.
people are really excited to get more data out there, to get it used in new ways.
One of the remarkable parts about this project, and we want to bring Alec in here, but you're on the communication side, and Alec is over, he's one of those technical guys, and this is one of these situations where you two actually talk to each other, right?
We do occasionally
talk to
each other, yeah.
It's like dogs and cats living together, for goodness sakes.
It is. So Lisa's talked about all the great stuff that we're working on. We're doing navigation and search and mobile apps and web apps and APIs. So for me, what that translates to is there's an awful lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of work to get done. And the challenge is, how do we get all those projects going, keep those projects going, and keep talking to each other? So Agile project management has really been what we've embraced to make that happen. So in the language of Agile, Lisa is a product owner. She tells us what we're going to build, what's acceptable, what the priorities are, all that kind of stuff. And then the challenge for my team is to actually build those pieces, develop them in sprints, which are short iterations, demo what we've got, get some feedback, make adjustments, that kind of thing. So by taking a more agile approach and getting away from some of the waterfall stuff, we're able to get feedback pretty fast and adjust accordingly. So that's probably why we can still do all these projects and still be working together after a couple of years.
Define what, because I'm not sure everybody always understands. We talk about and hear about Agile a lot, but I'm not sure everyone always understands what it really means. Does it mean that it's not this big bang approach where, you know, we just keep working on stuff until it's ready and then we launch it? You sort of do it, as you said, almost iteratively.
Yeah, so Agile came from the idea that developers like me and my team, we don't really like to spend all of our time on documentation and doing meetings. We actually like to get in there and start building stuff. And Lisa's the same way, having a background as a developer. So it really means that we say, okay, we'll get the team together. Every morning we talk for 15 minutes. We have a stand-up and say, what are you working on? And then we're spending less time creating documentation and more time actually creating stuff, what we call potentially shippable code, or small increments of a product that could actually run. And we break it down into things called user stories. And a user story might be, we're going to add a feature that makes the pop clock embeddable. And then we'll figure out what are the tasks that it takes to do that. And we'll have a product owner can tell us something. We'll have an SME who's an expert in the subject matter area giving some information. We'll have a developer saying, here's what I think needs to be done. So the team consists of several different people, not just developers. And we're prioritizing actually building things and then testing them out, as opposed to just spending a lot of time up front on documentation and planning.
Lisa, you also have a number of apps in addition to that you can run on your little handy iPhone or whatever. Are those different than doing, say, a web app?
I think they are a little bit different. You know, obviously we try to leverage some more components available to the phone, and our web app that we have out there now, America's Economy for iOS and Android, is a really good example of what Alec was talking about with the Agile process, because what we're able to do is we're able to have the culture of, you know, release the application, get the feedback, make the enhancements. And what we're able to do with America's Economy is we originally released it with 16 of the top economic indicators from the Census Bureau, from Bureau of Economic Analysis, and Bureau of Labor Statistics. And we got a lot of feedback. We had direct links in the app to get feedback, and that helped guide us on what indicators to add. And since then, since the original release, we've now added 4 additional indicators. We've got 20 in there, and one of the top requests was for CPI, for example. So that was targeted for our second version, which came out this year.
Wow. So literally you're taking what people request and it's defining what you're doing.
We are. We're taking feedback through the website, through specific applications, and also the metrics that we're able to capture, and using that to guide the development priorities. So we can work with Alec's team on planning out those development cycles based on the priorities.
You mentioned that a lot of this started with the 2010 census website. Talk a little bit about what was different about the 2010 census website and how that moves forward.
Sure. The 2010 census website, and let me add that in that experience we also really set the foundation for great relationships between communications and the IT area to bring everybody's strength to build that success. And the 2010 website was built around information and motivation for citizens to complete and fill out and mail back the census, the 2010 census form that everybody in the country got. It was highly interactive. It had a lot of video. It had interactive data applicative. It looked, I might say, a little non-governmental even. It had a lot of creative elements to it. Yet, you know, had very clear information on confidentiality in that collection process. So that website, we really looked at what the response was to that interactivity, how we could use that in a more engaging way. We started with social media during the 2010 census on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Flickr, and the like, and really carried that through also now as an engagement platform.
Alec, does the digital transformation impact how IT does its job?
I think it does, because traditional IT was more concerned just with infrastructure, maintaining infrastructure. You can think of an email system as kind of traditional IT. Now we're in product development. Now we're really building things where we don't have a very clear specification up front. We're figuring it out as we go. And that's where Agile is really helpful, because who knows if the public's going to like the first version of something that we created. We need to get some feedback and make some changes. So we're becoming much more product developers and much less just infrastructure support. And that's where that integration between both the business side and the IT side and the communication across those two really becomes critical to keep this thing moving forward and building stuff that people actually want to use.
Well, and how awesome for a lot of techie folks. It's difficult to find folks who want to be government employees, but most government employees want to have some connection to the mission, not just keeping email running. And this gives them a real tie-in, their fingerprints literally on the mission of Census.
That's why I came to Census to work on this project, because we have such interesting data, and there are so many cool things that you can build with this data, as Lisa was talking about. So the chance to get involved in all those different projects, push them out there, and we have like 100,000 plus users of our mobile app. So it's actually making an impact. It's kind of cool. It's not standard government stuff at all.
And also the Agile approach is different from most organizations, certainly most government organizations. It's getting outside your comfort zone a little bit, it sounds like.
It is for some people, and it's an ongoing process to coach folks and what does it mean to do something agile versus the traditional approach. So one of my roles on various different projects is to introduce the concept of agile, and we even do simple things like, let's do a little experiment where we're going to build a project in 15 minutes. We're going to build a sample of bridge out of newspaper and see how that works. That's kind of the team formation stuff that once you get those communication channels going, you have those informal communication channels as opposed to just the rigid hierarchy, and that helps a lot in getting us to done, as we like to say. That, hey, I know this guy over here or this gal over here, and if I just ask them a question, they can help me out, and that really gets things complete. So it is a culture shift, but we've got a lot of support for that culture shift, and we're seeing good results out of it. So I think we're going to do more of it.
Lisa, part of the challenge here, I know, is getting the message out that these APIs, these apps, that this population counter, that these even exist. So it's not it requires a lot of effort, not only to build it, but also to let it. It's not just if you build it, they will come, is it?
No, it's not. So we are doing a lot to promote our apps. Of course, events like this we're doing things through social media. We get a lot of visitors to our website looking for data, so we like to highlight many of the prominent apps. This is another reason that we're creating embeddable apps, and maybe I could show another example of where
awesome.
we could embed apps, because what we find is that we through embedding, letting users embed the data, we can reach entire new audiences who might go to one website but not know to come to census.gov. So we're trying to get that information out and those tools out in as many ways as possible. This one that I'm showing right now is a tool that we developed just this year called My Congressional District. And by working with Alex's team and developers, and especially the subject people who I have to bring in here as a critical element of that product team, we're able to offer some specific information just related to congressional districts and allow users to very easily go in, select a district, and see data in a thematic way, not have to know what specific data product out of the American Community Survey has housing information. They can just very easily click across the thematic tabs, and then they can, again, download and share. And this is an example where you can tailor the data to share just your district. For example, you are a congressman and want to share out information on your district, or you're a community website and want to share it out. Or you can embed the entire app as a whole and let users browse through all the data across the nation. You can also then download that as a spreadsheet, and for those users who want to have a deeper level of control over manipulating the data for whatever purpose.
And a technical point on this particular application, I have two things. One is this runs off our public API. So we're really eating our own dog food here. So somebody else could come along and build their own app that does something similar if they want. This is an example of how you can use Census as a data platform. It's not just a cool app that we built. So that was one cool thing. And the second one is this is an iteration off of a previous app that we built. And then some Congress people basically said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you could tell us about our district? So we took that app, did another sprint, and were able to give them what they wanted. And the turnaround time on this was, I don't know, 4 or 6 weeks. It was really a fast development cycle. So I think that's really cool to be able to deliver that, especially when some of these people like keep us employed and help us with our funding and so forth. It feels important to satisfy certain constituents.
Exactly.
Chris, it was, as Alex said, a very quick turnaround because we could leverage our own public API for the American Community Survey data. We could leverage the back end of the existing app, which I've put up here for people to take a look at. This is our Easy Stats app. Again, the idea is very easy thematic navigation to a topic. You can pick something, and I'll hopefully pick a fast one, and see the data. And this is actually going into the API and pulling things from across 9 or 10 different tables to present this singular view that you can't get in some of our other data tools. So again, this one is still tabular, but we've got some mapping things to show in a little while as well.
And why don't we go ahead and show the mapping ones, because those
Sure.
Those are the ones that I've gotten to play around with the most, because I'm a map geek. But
so This app that I'm showing now is our county business and demographics map. And this application is different in the sense that it pulls together data from what sometimes we call different sides of the Census Bureau. The Census Bureau, we measure people, places, and the economy. And this map brings together how we measure people and the economy. And what this does is it brings together information from the 2010 census and from our program called County Business Patterns, which measures businesses across counties, as it sounds. The interface opens up with some really quick demographics, and then you can zoom right in. You'll get a county view. The business data is available at the county level, so that's as low as we go here. It shows you the total businesses, but then across the top, you can also then view different demographic information for that same location. So you get the businesses, you can see total businesses and population, along with industry data together in a single application.
And again, how complex is this to build? Is this one of these things? I don't mean to make light of it.
We do it in a weekend, you know.
Well, it sounds, I think sometimes people jump into that agile approach and they go, oh, well, sure, just build, and it's not always that easy, but it's doing these things in sort of a more modular way, isn't it?
It's more modular, it's more incremental. This builds off a previous application that we had created. We learned a lot from the interactive population map before I built the county business map. But to answer your question, there's a lot going on. There's the Google Maps engine in the background. We have KML files, which are XML files that provide geographic information that are produced by our geographic division and optimized for the web that we use to create the tiles or that define the boundaries. And then we have the data sets that Lisa mentioned. All that comes together as the user is navigating through the app. So there's a lot that happens in the background to give it that kind of that seamless kind of experience for the user and push a lot of data out to the user.
We're running out of time. We only have a couple minutes left, but I want to get both your guys' take on lessons you've learned, both from the digital transformation project generally, but then from doing apps and citizen engagement. Alec, let me start with you. Are there takeaways that other agencies that may be similar but different from Census can take away from your experience?
Yeah, I think I talked a lot about Agile, and sometimes it makes people who are used to waterfall feel it's riskier because we're just going to start building something. But I actually think that it reduces risks on projects because you invest less up front, you see if you have something good, and you adjust. And so that has helped us stay away from the pitfalls of building some big, huge project that fails because we can make adjustments as we go along. So I think the Agile approach, along with the communication between the business side and the IT side, I think that's really the recipe for being able to do a lot of projects successfully with relatively small teams and a relatively thin budget.
It seems that it's still remarkable that you two folks should be talking to each other, but it still doesn't always happen. Lisa, your takeaways? What lessons do you take away from this?
Yeah, I take away, and I think one of our lessons is that I think all of us in the government know how tight our budgets are, and we're really restricted in both budget and in staff resources. So through the engagement, through the feedback, and through letting our users help us prioritize features, we can better ensure that we're creating applications with the features that are going to provide that best value back to the people who, this data can help in so many ways. Their census data is so powerful for so many decisions, and the better access we can provide, I think we really succeed in our mission to disseminate that information. And
it seems, and you're not glossing over it, but it's a big step, I think, to say, hey, we don't have to build everything. If we make the data available, then other people may be able to do that in a way that may be different than the census would do it, but may be equally valuable in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's one of the lessons we're learning, and I would venture to guess that federal agencies as a whole are learning through their API programs that not only does our data become that much more powerful when available through an API, but it becomes that much more when users can pull data together from not only federal resources, but from other sources as well, to get that picture, to meet those needs that they want, to create pictures for economic development, to create pictures for emergency response. So many different uses that communities can reach in, pull the data out that they need for these purposes.
Alec, it just has to, we've been talking technology all day and how you can use it to do amazing things, but what a great time to be somebody who works in this space and be able to, you can have such an incredible impact.
You really can, and I think government, if there's a government 2.0, it's government as a data platform. We provide services traditionally, but now we have all this data and metadata and paradata about what we're doing, which is incredibly valuable to businesses all across the spectrum, from large financial firms to small businesses. And that's where for each of our tax dollar you can get so much more value out of what we're doing going forward as we turn into a data platform. So even though I build applications, I get more excited about the applications that other people are able to build as we push these APIs out there. And I think that is what we can do in the 21st century that we have not done so far. So it really is a great, exciting time to do this stuff.
Lisa, earlier on we were talking about somebody out at the Berkeley lab, and the CIO there had an employee who came to her and said, "Hey, we ought to automate the performance review process." And you guys must get that too, where people say, frontline workers know all the data that they're working on, and they say, "Hey, we ought to get this out in different ways." Again, how hugely empowering to everybody in the organization.
Yeah, it is, and we actually have a program at Census on improving efficiencies in how we operate and how we produce our information and how we run our programs. And many of those ideas have really come full circle in doing some of those things like you're mentioning, really taking that data, improving it, creating different products. The API came out of this program, for example.
And we have a codeathon. So for the folks in the building who like to write code, whether they're experts or they're just kind of tinkering at home, we get together for a day and they have a chance to actually try and build something or participate in building something. So that creates a sense of ownership across the whole agency. And that creates a lot of channels of communication that don't exist. So everybody gets to help build something if they want to. And that is just, I don't know many places that actually let their employees once in a while do that. And that really has a cultural shift as well. So you get to actually not just have the idea, but try and build it too.
And there's pizza and a lot of soda around. So
yeah.
We want to thank Lisa and Alec from Census. Awesome job, great work, congratulations. Census has even we've profiled the apps on the Doorbak Insider. So thank you for doing the remarkable work you're doing. Just a reminder that if we didn't ask your question, in fact, I forgot to check and see if there were questions. No. Well, I included one in, but you get the point. If there's something that you didn't want to ask and you didn't get to it, or Lisa and Alec are going to be not hanging out, they're going to be chatting in our virtual conference center. If there's something I didn't ask, go ahead and ask it yourself. They'll be right there. And as well, this and all of our sessions will be available on demand on Google Federal's YouTube site. If you've registered, we'll send the link right to you, and you can go see this and all the presentations that we've had. One other reminder, there is a survey in the virtual conference center. Did you like this event? Did you like the moderator? You can sound off on all of it. The survey is right at the bottom of the page. Lisa, Alec, thanks so much for being part of this, and thanks for hanging out with me. But hang out with us. We still have more to come. We're going to talk about equipping your employees with the power of context. That is just ahead right here on Google's Innovation of the Nation. Thanks, guys.